conversations they could have had with the government or with the school around that. They didn't realize that they could put their studies maybe on hold for a semester, or they tried to do that, but it was too many semesters before they could pay. And so as a result, they lost their status here in Canada, because it's like, well, you're no longer an international student, therefore you're not allowed to be here, you don't have a work permit anymore. But their plan was and is to still make Canada their home. Hello, Sabrina.
Hello, guys.
Right, so they became undocumented workers. And there are many other stories of different people who have also lost their status for a variety of different reasons. But like I say, we're working with a couple of workers here in Sudbury that is their story. That's what happened to them. So that's a story I know. I know other people arrived with a work permit. Their boss was abusive. They left that employment. They didn't do it following necessarily the right rules. And so now they find themselves here without status. And our immigration system isn't kind to people who don't have status. It isn't kind to people who, it's like, oh, did you break this rule? We don't care the reason, out you go, right? Like, our immigration system is not compassionate. A couple of years ago, the government said, we recognize that there are people in this situation, and we would like to create what's called a regularization program to say to people, hey, you're here without status, that's fine, no questions asked, let's find a way to give you status here, right? So they said they were going to put in a regularization program. So the Migrant Rights Network, of course, leaped into action and said, we love this plan, but it has to be status for all, right? Like, yes, you need to give all the undocumented workers, it needs to be the equivalency of permanent residence or permanent resident status. And you should do that for every migrant worker here, everybody on the work permit. And so over the last couple of years, they've really been pushing that program forward. It looked like it was really about to happen. Now it looks like it isn't, largely for reasons that we would say are racist. But you can still participate in that program. And in September, we're going to be holding an event to talk about status for all. Yeah, so I hope you'll all come out and join us for that. You raised your
So, like, yeah, you were talking about our program, but that's on Trudeau's government, right? But what do you think will the next candidate, for example, is Pierre, right? The next one. Do you think that with the way he has promoted himself, do you think he's going to help us immigrants or not?
Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party.
So I'm really concerned about that because I don't think he's a really migrant, a person that likes immigrants, maybe.
Yeah, so with the Sudbury Workers Center, we are neutral when it comes to talking about. We're not partisan. We don't say this is the party that you should follow. They will give you the right answer. The policies that we want are status for all, stronger labor laws. The Conservative government has not published strong policies around these things. What I can tell you is that past Conservative governments have not been particularly strong on migrant rights and the rights for international students. I can tell you that the current leaders of the Pierre Poilievre and others are certainly spending a lot of time talking to and engaging with figures that have been openly racist in the past and advocated for less immigration, and have made statements that would be racist about people, Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, and people from other places. That being said, Pierre Poilievre is married to a woman who was not born in Canada and came to Canada. So he has some personal understanding in his family of the issues that might be facing immigrants and people of other places. But I would also say Pierre Poilievre is comes from a very well-off family, and his wife comes from a very well-off family, and the reality of being rich and an immigrant and the reality of being not rich and an immigrant are very different realities. Yeah? And the conservative governments, the way they talk about helping people and the middle class and those in low income don't end up generally actually helping, in my opinion, helping people in low income brackets. But you should make up your own mind about how those policies are and explore them. And I will also say, our current government, the Liberal government, often says very positive things about immigration, but then doesn't always follow through on them. And for example, in the question about regularization, the reason that they recently said, oh, we were really strongly doing this, but now it's put on hold, is because we've heard some pushback from people, and not everybody in our own caucus is for this. And what they really mean is, there's a lot of conversation about immigrants being the problem in Canada, and we don't want to look like we're saying, hey, let's let immigrants in for no reason, right? Like, it's racist at the heart of it. And I'll just finish off because Sabrina's here and I know she's itching to start. The majority of people, so Canada has about 30 million people in it. There's just under 2 million people that are here with a work permit, or as a refugee or an asylum seeker, as an international student, or here on a work permit. So when you do the math, less than 5% of people in Canada are immigrants, like newcomers to Canada. The majority of us are immigrants in some way, shape, or form. Like, my grandmother arrived from the Ukraine, my great-great-grandfather and grandmother arrived from Scotland. Like, I come from an immigrant family on all of the sides of my family tree, right? Just farther back. But when we're talking about less than 5% of people in Canada are here with a work permit. And yet people in Canada, that 5% of people are getting 100% of the blame for our housing crisis, right? Like, you're not making the housing crisis. There's less than 5% of newcomers, right? So you can't be responsible for the housing crisis more than the 95% of people, because there's greater than a 5% gap in the problem for housing, right? You're not responsible for people losing their, like, 5% of the people of the population can't be responsible for any perceived issues around lack of jobs in Canada. And in Sudbury, our city government has said, hey, we've done the math and looked at the future. We don't have enough people here in Sudbury to meet our labor market demands. We don't have enough people now or in the future to provide the number of jobs that we have now or that we project in the future. Hey, let's bring newcomers into Sudbury to solve that problem. We have the rural and northern immigration pilot. And so our city here in Sudbury says we need new people in Sudbury to solve our labor market problem, right? So if we've already said we have a problem and we need to bring people in to fill those jobs, we can't be saying, hey, immigrants are stealing jobs from people here, because if we had the needs filled already, we wouldn't be inviting you here, right? So that's some of the work that we do. I hope you'll join us. If you want to volunteer with us, we'll talk about volunteering. You can scan this little card here. And I'm going to shut up now because my partner and the one who is actually the smart one in the relationship is Sabrina. So come on up, Sabrina.
Isn't he great?
You had us worried, but I knew you'd be here.
Yeah.
And you're ready to get started? We're all
Yes,
ready with the live
absolutely.
feeds and everything?
Thank you for sharing. Actually, Scott shared quite some secrets that he never shared with me. So you guys are so lucky.
I share everything with you. So welcome,
Look,
everybody.
I did it. Okay.
I'm sorry that we're a little bit late. There we go. I did 2 instead of 1. All right, sorry about that.
Scott?
Yeah?
I got this.
Oh, you got it. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Scott. I'm with the Sudbury Workers Education and Advocacy Center, and we're here today in partnership with HY Voyagers. And this partnership is really all about supporting you, newcomers to Canada, in your journey to live, study, get work, make a life here in Canada. And we want to combine our 2 different skill sets. So HY Voyagers, they are experts on helping you understand how to get educated here, how to get jobs here.
Immigrant as well.
Yeah, and all of that. So they're the experts in that. That's why I say she's the real brains. And what we do, as I explained just before we started, is we make sure that people understand that they have rights in the workplace, that there are rules around how people are supposed to treat you with dignity and respect, and to help you make sure that that happens in the workplace. So this is a great collaboration between the 2 of us. We've been talking about doing something like this for years, and we finally got to do it. So we're really excited. And this is the first of several workshops.
Right.
All right. Can I hit the button? I'm hitting the button. Sorry. There we go.
We can, yeah.
And now that we've sort of talked about who we are, I want to talk a little bit about where we are. So most of us, as I said earlier, we're immigrants to Canada, whether recent immigrants or generations back. This was originally the territory of the Indigenous peoples of Canada, the First Nations people. And here in Sudbury specifically, also called Newcomers in the Anishinaabe language, this is the Huron-Robinson Treaty area. It is the traditional land of the Anishinaabe peoples. Specifically, it's the shared territories of the Atitmishing Anishinaabe and the Wanapitei First Nations, as well. Métis people have made great contributions here to this land. And I was just reading in the paper this morning, for years, as I said, we're in what's called the Huron-Robinson Treaty area, all right? Which means over 100 years ago, the ancestors, the grandfathers and grandmothers of the Anishinaabe people and the other First Nations in this area sat down with my grandfathers and grandmothers to say, hey, let's respect each other, let's work together, let's carve out an agreement to share this territory. And as part of that agreement, they said, we would like to be able to share this space. And yes, we want to take trees and mine and, grow things and get the animals for furs and all of that, which puts some money in our pocket. So when we take those resources, we're going to give you a little bit of that money because you're giving us this land so that we can do that. And sadly, my grandparents and great-grandparents did not honor that treaty very well. They didn't keep providing an increase in that money. They were like, oh, we said we'd give you 50 cents, every year. So it's here you go, 50 cents every year. And that was not the language in the agreement. The language was very much a percentage, a share of that. The Indigenous people have been fighting to get that rectified. They've won at every level of the courts that they fought this at, including most recently the Supreme Court of Canada, which called it shameful and embarrassing that the Canadian government, the Crown as it's often called, had engaged in these practices. And so I'm pleased that the Supreme Court of Canada has finally given a determinative answer on this. I'm pleased that it's recognized that it has been problematic the way that we have treated the Indigenous people of this land. And I hope that it's sad to me that especially the Ontario government, fought this so far and worked so hard to force this to have to go up to the Supreme Court rather than just admitting much earlier on, you know what, we were right, let's negotiate something. So I'm glad that this is finally happening. It's a shame that it's taken so long, and I hope that this does allow us to continue down the path of reconciliation. So that's my acknowledgement about not just where we are, but where I personally am sitting in this conversation around reconciliation.
Awesome, finally, it's my turn. Okay, let me talk to you about our organizations. Our organization name is HY Voyagers. We are a community-driven organization dedicated to supporting international students, immigrants, and newcomers like us. We're focused on providing career guidance. That's why you're here, right? Career guidance, networking opportunities, culture integration support, and many more career services such as study, work, and life in Canada in general. We are founded by international students for international students. Actually, all of our team members have experience studying and working abroad. That's why we understand what we do very well. Next one, it's going to be this one, right? We do have a mission. Our mission is to revolutionize the experience of international students and immigrants in Canada by providing innovative educational support as one, and facilitating meaningful employment opportunities, and also fostering a vibrant and enjoyable lifestyle. I do believe everybody's here for a reason, and I do believe the main reason would be having a better life. That's why we're here in the first place. So that's all I have. At least try to foster a vibrant and enjoyable lifestyle. This one.
There we go. So the Sudbury Workers Education and Advocacy Center, as I said, we're a nonprofit organization. We're made up of workers, students, and community volunteers, all dedicated to improving the lives and the working conditions of people, especially those in low wage and unstable employment. And we know, for example, that newcomers to Canada are overrepresented in low wage and unstable employment. We help people understand their rights in the workplace through public presentations. We work one-on-one with people to help them understand their rights and to help resolve those issues. And sometimes the laws are not in the favor of the worker, so we also advocate, we try and convince government or business to change the way they do things to make the rules stronger and better for everyone, whether that be immigration or labor laws or things like that. And all of our services are free and confidential. So if you have questions, if you have concerns, you can bring them to us. We're not going to share it with your boss. We're not going to share it with anybody else. We're just here to help.
Now let's move on to understanding the landscape. Everybody's in a different situation. However, I believe everybody sort of in the same landscape right now, because the reality is, as newcomers, we all face challenges like lack of Canadian work experience, language barriers. It's not our mother tongue, and unfamiliarity with local job markets. We're new. We don't quite understand the trends, their expectations, mannerisms, all that. However, I do encourage everybody to have a mindset shift, because it's so important. We encourage everyone to view these challenges as opportunities. They're not just challenges, they're opportunities as well. Because each obstacle you overcome makes you more resilient and adaptable. And those are the qualities valued by Canadian employers, and I would like to argue those are the qualities highly valued by all employers all over the world. Right? You think so? Yes. And then yes, before we can do that, we need to understand cultural differences in the job application process. How many of you guys are looking for a job right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody? Everybody? Okay, everybody's looking for a job right now. That's good. First of all, we got to talk about resume. Do you guys have like a Canadian style resume? You do? You want me to check it right now? I might not be able to do that. I'll check that later, but I'm not asking for it. I'm just asking you guys whether you guys have Canadian style resume. At least you think you do. Do you? You do? Okay, you do. Okay, what is your understanding of Canadian resume? Why do you think that is a Canadian style resume? Yeah?
Like ask for school for help my resume
Yeah.
and got some change and finally I get one.
Okay, because that person told you that is Canadian style resume, right?
Yeah.
And then you think it's one. Okay. Anybody else would like to share?
When I was in my internship,
Yes.
my boss, she said like resume was like not the greatest one. I'll show you how to do one.
Okay.
Easy for me. And I just been adding like more experience with it.
Awesome. That's great. Okay. For Canadian resumes, they are typically 1 to 2 pages long. Is that right? Typically, you can have a main resume that can be 3 or 4 and 5 pages long if you have experience of 12 years and 20 years or something. However, for the job you're applying for, typically it's 1 to 2 pages long. And also no personal photos or information like age, marital status, or religion. You don't put that kind of information on your resume here. And also you need to focus on your relevant skills and experiences rather than a comprehensive life history, because they don't really care about your whole life. They just care about whether you can do the job or not. Just show us what kind of skills, abilities you have, and whether you can do the job or not. Okay. For cover letter, it's more about the company here. It's not about you, because you just talk about you over and over again on your resume. And for a cover letter, do you guys actually submit cover letters for jobs that you apply for? Do you do that? You do. You do. That's good. You don't. Okay, you don't. Sometimes, right? I got it right. I know, because it's a lot of work. Because you apply for so many jobs, and for each one you have to tailor it. You might feel like it's too much work, so you don't want to do it. I get it. However, I highly recommend everybody to submit a cover letter when you submit your resume. Because about the company would like to know how much research you did, whether you really care about this job or not. They want to know. They want to know whether you might just leave after 2 months or 3 months or even 1 day. They want to know. And I do know Scott knows a lot about cover letters and how you feel about people submitting cover letters when you review
I love
people.
Yeah, I love them. So as I'm also an employer. We have staff that we work with, and your resume, that's all about you, right? The CV, the resume, that's all of your skills, all of your past experience, all of your knowledge. That's all about you. The cover letter is your opportunity to say, hey, this is all about the employer, right? The cover letter is all about me. And the cover letter says, hey, I've looked at your webpage. I've looked at your job description. I know what you're looking for. And this is why I think I might be able to help you, right? It says, hey, I see you're looking for this. These are my skills that would apply for this. These are the reasons why I'm the right person for your job.
Right.
And so it says to me, you took a little bit of time to think about me, to think about what I was looking for, and to say, hey, you want to date somebody, I'm the perfect date for you, right? Here's why you like going on long walks. I like going on long walks, right? You took that time to say, I'm the right person for your job. It does need to be a tailored cover letter. I sometimes get cover letters from people that are clearly a generic cover letter, and it'll be like, oh, I'm #1 in sales, and I do really great with sales, and I will be able to, I'm like, but you're not applying for sales job with me. I don't do sales, right? So sure, this skill set of sales will be very good for the outreach work that I do, but I'm not asking you to do sales, right? So it needs to be tailored to me to make it lovely for me. So love a cover letter. Always want a cover letter. If you give me a cover letter, you're automatically higher up in my list, even if your resume might not look as strong.
Same goes with me. I mean, I'm an employer as well here. If I see some beautifully written cover letter, I know you really care about this company. You took the time to understand the values, why we do what we do. I would think highly of you as applicant for sure. And if you can go to our websites, like any kind of employer's website, to know what kind of projects they're working on, what's going on in the company, and then you mention that can be a super kind of plus. Interview etiquette. Have you guys had any sort of interviews here in Canada already? You have? How do you feel? Good?
Yeah.
Feels good? You got a job?
Couple ones, the first order side I found successful, but I get like around 9 the whole time that I've been here.
Good. Yes, punctuality is crucial. I normally arrive 10 to 15 minutes early, and I do apologize for being kind of 2 minutes late here because I know we got started at 11:30. I dealt with some emergencies in the morning, something came up. You have to accept my apology, right? Otherwise, it cannot go on, right? So, thank you for that. Yes, and then firm handshake is expected, and also eye contact is expected as well. Of course, in non-pandemic times, we're not in pandemic times right now. I think we're good. And also always be prepared to speak about achievements and give specific examples. If you say you're good at this, can you give me an example to show you're good at this? That's what it's about. And also, it's all about self-promotion. I know in some cultures, people don't really talk about their achievements. But here, you're going to be comfortable with talking about your achievements. I know, especially in Asia, when people give you compliments, you're going to say, oh, no, I'm not that. I cannot do that. Oh, no, you're wrong, or something like that. You can do that in Asia, but here, people might really believe you cannot do the job. Then, okay, goodbye. Yeah, so you got to be used to that. And strike a balance between being humble and highlighting your strength. Always be ready talking about your strength, your accomplishments. Always ready, okay? Right. Follow up. Have you guys sent a thank you email after an interview? Have you done that?
Sorry?
Have you sent a thank you email after an interview? Because you did. Sometimes within 24 hours. Did you do that?
Sorry, what?
Within 24 hours. So, did you do that? Normally, like within 24 hours, you send a thank you note as a follow-up.
Yeah, like if I had the information, sometimes it was like third company doing the employment, and then I had an interview, but I didn't know the manager's mails.
Yes, please send thank you email if you really like the job, you want to get a job that can really impress people, and follow up on applications if you haven't heard back within the state time frame. The thing is, as hiring managers or recruiters, they got loads of resumes, they have information here and there, referrals, resumes, and email online, and paper version of resumes. So a lot of times they are confused as well. It's job, okay? It's a job. So for you guys, it's always good to follow up and remind them that you really get fit for the job. References. Oh, okay. Usually provided upon request. Yes, I would say here in Canada, normally like all the time, if they decide to sort of, decide to hire you, before that final decision, normally people will ask for references, right?
Yes.
That's what I find here in Canada. You have to have references, and your former supervisors are normally preferred over your colleagues or your friends. If I ask you right now to provide 3 references to me, how many of you guys can do that right now? Give me 3 references that you think will be good references.
I have 3, but 2 of them are supervisors from links colleague. So you wouldn't.
Okay. What about others? You cannot provide references, and you just told me you're looking for a job, right?
Yeah, but we don't have the work experience here. If we got the reference, maybe just my exports, but in China,
Yes,
it's okay.
that's of course okay, but you know how difficult it is for employers here to contact China.
Yeah.
Are you gonna pay for their phone bills? I doubt it. So now Scott is the person you can talk to, because Scott is actively recruiting volunteers. If you do a good job here, I'm positive Scott can give you a really good reference, and it will make things so much easier for everything. And I cannot stress the importance of having references more here. You know why? Because it's not just about, okay, when you get a job, they ask for references, and you provide those references. And also, if you are looking for obtaining your PR after your education or something, references are necessary as well. For example, if you want to go with this OIMP master stream here in Ontario, you have to prove your intention to reside in this province by showing you have close ties to this community, to Ontario at least. You got to do that. And also, if you want to go with RNIP, Scott just mentioned the RNIP program, if you want to go with that, if you have, I think the most updated one would be 3 months or something, volunteering experience, you got 25 extra points or something. You get extra points for that. So it's just, for doing volunteering, of course, get references. So it's I cannot stress it more. It's so important to do volunteer work and then, have those references ready, not only for job, but for other things as well.
Okay.
Yeah. He's the one you can talk to afterwards. And also work culture expectations. Culture, okay. Emphasize on teamwork and collaboration, which is true. Value placed on initiative and problem solving skills, and also strike a work-life balance here. I know Chinese people that come here for work-life balance because in China, working overtime is kind of common, right? It's common, right? That's why you're here, right? So you are lucky that you're in Canada because in a lot of companies, they do value work-life balance. So it's a culture thing. This comprehensive overview of the cultural differences in the Canadian job application process highlights key aspects where newcomers like yourself might experience differences compared to your own home countries. But this information can help you better understand and navigate through the job market. You can always talk to me afterwards to understand more if you still have problems. And always recommend you guys to align your approach with the local expectations. Now we're gonna move on to overcoming challenges lack of Canadian experience. We just mentioned that one of the challenges was lacking Canadian experience. How are you guys addressing that challenge? You don't have Canadian experience, which is not good. Yes, what are you doing to gain Canadian experience? Are you doing anything? No?
Maybe today.
Maybe today? Today's a good start though.
Yeah.
That's a good start. You get started somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Volunteer work, I just mentioned that. You do volunteer work and you consider volunteering in your field. It provides valuable experience and networking opportunities for sure. And let me just talk to you about these transferable skills because a lot of you guys have experience in your back home country. And a lot of skills are transferable skills. For example, like teamwork, problem solving, and leadership, all those kind of skills, right? They are universal, they're transferable. So you can sort of kind of make up the fact that you don't have enough Canadian experience by highlighting your transferable skills. And networking, connect with professionals to understand job requirements and get insights. You guys are very smart, that's why you showed up, because we're professionals, you're not working with us, right? You're having problems, volunteering, opportunities, you can talk to us.
So we've talked a lot about volunteering as a way of getting work experience. What's important though is that you volunteer for people that need you to volunteer for them, and you're not ending up giving away free labor to somebody that's just exploiting you and using you, right? So in Canada, we have many what are called nonprofit and charitable organizations. So the Sudbury Worker Center, we're a small nonprofit organization. We are involved in what is called the sort of social good or the social benefit industry. What we do makes things better for people. We're not here to try and make money or to build houses or to create a product. We're here to benefit people in different ways, right? Charities and nonprofits come in all sorts of different sizes. So some of them are very, very big, such as the Cancer Foundation, which is huge. And then there's somebody like the Sudbury Worker Center, which is very, very small. And maybe somebody like Coalition for Livable Sudbury, which is even smaller, right? So we come in different sizes, shapes, and flavors. But what's true for all of us is that we rely on volunteer work to help us implement our programs and our policies and deliver our services. We usually are widely advertising for volunteers, for example, through the United Way of Northeastern Ontario, the United Way here in Sudbury. You can go to their webpage, you can click on the volunteer link, and you'll be taken to a place where it's like, look, here are all these organizations that need somebody to help them out to do their work, right? So these are the kinds of legitimate things. It is a red flag if you are being asked to do free work or volunteer work from an organization that is a private organization whose goal is to make money, right? So that is a red flag. They may be asking you to do work for free, right? Now, if it's part of your schooling, many school programs, for example, have a co-op placement program. So then, yes, you're working for that company for free for 6 weeks, but it's part about your reward for that is you get to graduate. Right? So that's different. If they continue to say, hey, why don't you do more work with us for free after that, there's a red flag there. Okay? Maybe it's a legitimate internship program, but maybe they just want to keep you giving them work for free, essentially, right? And other organizations that say, hey, sure, we can't give you a job, but if you want to like stock the shelves for free, I'll give you a reference. Well, now you're being exploited. Right? Go stock shelves for the food bank because they need help. They rely on volunteers and they'll also give you the reference, but they won't be using you to make money. Any questions about where that difference might be? Great. And like I say, the United Way and other organizations will provide you with lists of places where you can legitimately volunteer. So seek out that information. If you want to know more, talk to me afterwards.
You can talk to me about that as well. We have like quite some list of volunteer opportunities for you guys to choose from. But I do recommend Scott to start with. That's a really good start.
I have a question.
Sure.
Previously, you mentioned that the volunteering experience should be on our field. Currently, my field is data analytics, which I graduated from that program. But I'm volunteering at a non-profit organization that makes food for homeless people. Is that okay, or should I find another field to volunteer?
Well, it's always good, in my opinion, to do any sort of volunteer work because that shows who you are.
Yeah.
And why employers want to hire you because they really want to understand who you are as a person. For skills, you can get trained for obtaining new skills, but you don't normally change who you are, especially after you're an adult. That's the hard part. For any sort of volunteer job, you can always gain something, for example, like I mentioned, like transferable skills, like leadership, teamwork, and all those things. You can always mention that. And you can do more like in your field if you want, if you can make the time, but it's always good to do any sort of volunteer work, in my opinion.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I would add to that. So when I recall the food organization that you're working with, they would be able to say, yes, he's a hard worker. He shows up on time. He's always there. He works well with others. He's pleasant to work with, always cheerful in the workplace. So they won't be able to speak about your data processing skills necessarily, but they'll tell me the other things that I also want to know about whether or not you're going to be somebody I'm going to enjoy working with in the workplace. So that's valuable. The other thing that I would say is, so you're starting there doing the work that they need. You could speak with them and say, hey, I have these other skill sets. Do you have any need for these? Because they might be like, oh God, yes, we have a database. We never really keep it up to date. It's not really working very well. Our funders want data analysis from us, but we don't really have a capability to do that. Do you want to speak with us about maybe helping us to clean up? There might be a way that you can bring your skill set to that organization that also helps them, and then get to you, again, that experience in your actual field that they can then speak to, right? And maybe it works out with them, maybe it doesn't, but you can always take those specific skills that you ask and say, hey, I started doing general work for you, but do you have any need of these specific skills? And find out if they do or not, right?
It's a great ad, thank you, that's a great ad, right? And also, nowadays, employers really pay attention to soft skills. You've all heard about a term called soft skills, right? So yes, who you are, whether, basically, we're all human beings. They want to find out whether they want to work with you. Who are you? For skills, I mean, you can get trained and you can even self-study. That's not really the hard part, especially when you have the formal education. You have the foundation already. It's not really difficult to upgrade whatever skills you have. Overcoming challenges again. We're busy, aren't we? So, okay.
It's the main theme,
Yes,
right?
we're very busy. Language barriers. For language barriers, yeah, that's a big one. Reality, strong language skills are crucial for effective workplace communication because everybody's looking for efficiency. We're all busy. We don't have that much time to, have miscommunications. Language courses. How many of you guys have taken language courses before you came here? How many of you guys have done that? One? Okay. Only one? Okay. All right. Good to know. In my opinion, it's like if English or French is not your first language, there's always room for improvement. And you're always going to do this. You can consider taking courses to improve your English or French skills. I don't know how many of you guys are interested in obtaining your PR here. What I know for sure is that a lot of people right now are studying French in order to get their PR because there's a specific program called EE categorized-based program with French as the independent one right there. If you can reach the level of B2, most likely you get drawn out and finally get your PR. And a lot of people are studying French from zero foundation right now, and it's kind of, they believe in a half year's time they can reach B2. I think in my opinion, if you can, of course, improve English, but French is important as well, not only in the sense of obtaining a PR, employability as well, improving employability as well, because a lot of jobs require you to be bilingual, English and French. You absolutely increase your chances of getting a job here, and also it makes life easier. Well, I tried, it didn't work out, so I really tried. Anyway, for English, I know for sure ILAC offers 2 programs, which we can help you sign up for if you're interested, very cost effective. And also please take advantage of free local resources as well. They're absolutely excellent. Read the Sudbury Public Library is a good one. This one, but not this one is like the main branch one, but also like library, public library. They offer Thursday night English conversation practice as the main branch. If you got time, please join them and practice your English. And yes, I think we all know this, but we don't do it. Like make it a habit to read, write, and speak in English or French every day. We know that's the right way to do it, but normally we don't. Yes, that's the situation. And industry vocabulary, please find like what kind of job titles you are looking for, because the job titles you have in your back home country might not be the same as what they're called here in Canada. That is important. You also need to check the job responsibilities to see whether that's the title you're looking for. So get familiar with job specific terms. That's important as well. Oh, finally, we don't have to overcome challenge again.
There we go.
have rates.
So language is not only a barrier sometimes for getting a job, but it can also be used in a negative way to exclude you from the workplace, essentially for reasons that are racist, right? Not every job requires that you speak perfectly fluent English without an accent, right? That is not necessarily important. And if you do speak English well or very well, but you have an accent, you don't want to be excluded from the job on that basis either, just because it's like, oh, I'm not sure if my customers will always understand you. It's like, well, that's their problem, not mine, right? So the Ontario Human Rights Code protects what are called personal characteristics of people, all right? And so there are 17 different grounds that are protected in 5 different social areas, employment being one of them. And language isn't specifically listed as a protected ground in the Ontario Human Rights Code. However, things like race, ancestry, country of origin, place of origin, ethnic background, all of these are protected by that. And so they encompass language and whether or not you might have an accent that people can hear or not hear, right? And it is illegal to deny you a job solely based on the fact that you might have an accent or that your language might not be perfect, okay? So that would be illegal to do. Now, there might be some jobs where there is what's called a bona fide requirement to have a high level of language, all right? Bona fide is Latin for really, really good, a true and real reason, right? So there may be a job that actually does say, hey, we need a language proficiency of this much
Right.
to do the job.
Benchmark.
That language proficiency should be put out in the job application. It should be measurable, right? And if you can meet those requirements, just like many of you may have needed to pass a language test in order to get your permit to come to Canada, and there are different levels, right? Like certain things you need a language level 5, other things you need a language 4. Like we have a different system with different levels in it. So that should be in the job description when it's put out there, if that is a real and true, a bona fide requirement for that job. If they haven't listed that in the job description and they say, well, we're not going to take you because of your accent or because we think your language isn't good enough, they may be treating you unfairly under the Human Rights Code. And you can then file a claim, file a complaint about that. We can help you with that. It will not affect your immigration status if you file a claim under the Human Rights Code, either during the work process, getting the work process, or after you're hired, if you feel that you're being discriminated against, right? And so even though the reality is that it's illegal to not give you a job because you have an accent or because you might not speak perfect English, unless there is that bona fide requirement, right? It may still be there, right? People might still treat you a little differently on those grounds. Again, if you feel that you're being treated differently in the workplace because of your skin color, because of the way you speak, for any other reason that might be protected ground, the first thing you're supposed to do is file a complaint directly with the employer. And if that doesn't resolve the issue, you can file a complaint with the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal. I don't want to dive into all of this too deeply here today. If you've got questions about this, please speak with me afterwards or get in touch later on. Again, all our services are free and confidential, so I hope you'll take advantage of them. Moving on. Sorry. I did it. I wasn't sure if you were doing it or not. There we go.
Oh, here we are. We can overcome challenges again. Yes, we mentioned about this earlier and familiarity with our local job markets. Have you guys done anything to get familiar with the local job market here? No, I haven't. Okay, first of all, get started, you gotta go do some research. You need to explore industry trends and salary expectations. If you get a, say, a job into immigration, you sort of want to know the salary range before you get into that, to negotiate at least, right? So if you want to do research on salary information, job bank is a really good one. But if you want to get to know whether this company is good to work for, you can see some feedback from Glassdoor, because there are company reviews right there and also salary information. You want to understand whether this is a company you want to work for the long term by checking out how other employees are talking about this company. And also local events. There are quite some local events we can attend. For example, we can attend a career fairs and workshops. I don't know whether you guys are familiar with SWEAC and Wednesday here. They can help you with employment services. However, based on what I know, they help a lot of, in terms of job, they help those who have permanent residence. But anyway, they hold career fairs. I wouldn't say regularly, but they do, and it's a good place to check out, to talk to employers directly to see, what kind of job requirements are out there. And there are potential barriers. You made it here for transportation. I don't see that as a problem. For technology, public libraries are great. For example, this one, you can use internet and computers for free. You can ask for resources. So this is good. Information interviews. Have you guys get connected with anyone, be on LinkedIn or in person, and then ask for information of interviews? You have? Where? Where did you?
No, there was a good job fair in College like
Yes.
2 years ago maybe. And
Good.
I went there, I was just basically in every cent asking them for either LinkedIn to get connections.
Yes.
If that
that's
works, you
awesome.
can put it under your resume and
Right.
people look for that. Not all people, but some employers look for that.
Yes. And you attend this information interviews, get to know more about the company, about the job, right? So take advantage of that. You get connected with people, and then you can ask for information of interviews, like short ones, to get to know more about the company. Normally, people will say yes, normally, but also it depends. Some people might be too busy for talking to you. However, it's always good to try.
And some job applications will actually say, if you want more information, please call or email this number. And I would encourage you to do a little bit of research, look at the job description, look at what the company's doing, think of a couple of questions that you might sort of be like, oh, is this a thing you're concerned about? Or what are the job trends you're looking at, right? Like, so that you can go and it gives you that opportunity even before the interview to say, hey, I'm interested, tell me more, here's a little bit about me, here's some things that I thought about that maybe you're looking for. So, is this what you're looking for? I can tailor my resume to that. And you're beginning that relationship with the person or the company to sort of be like, I might be the right person, right? Like, so yeah, if it says that, they don't all do, but if it does, take advantage.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to job search tactics. We're gonna start our job search journey right now. The Canadian job market has its unique characteristics. I think we all experienced that. And now we can discuss key tactics to enhance your job search, of course, including tapping into the hidden job market. Have you guys heard about hidden job market? No?
No.
You haven't heard about it? Okay. That's where jobs are. I wouldn't say 100%, but a lot of jobs are hidden. That's why you might not be able to have a chance to get the job you want because they're hidden. But there are ways to discover those jobs though. You wanna hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. First of all, you gotta have a really kind of good LinkedIn profile. That's like a must. You have to, if you wanna get a job here in Canada. I know in Asian countries, especially in China, LinkedIn is banned. So you wouldn't be able to use it in the first place. However, in North America in general, not only in Canada, America as well, it's a place where recruiters are there actively looking for candidates to get paid. They're there to get paid. So they're there to help you find a job by finding you. So you're gonna do your work by being there in the first place for them to discover in the first place, right? So LinkedIn, connect with recruiters right there because there are some recruiters in your industry, in your field. They're looking for talents in this field. You connect with them, you talk to them, send a resume. But first of all, you're gonna have a good profile because they normally check you out first to see whether it's worth them spending the time with you. So if your profile says like, and it's not somebody recruiters want to talk to, then you don't have a chance. So at least have one and optimize it. And then add your alumni, keep your profile updated and engage regularly. I'll give you an example. When I was an international student here, one of the subjects was consulting project. We were required to talk to a practicing consultant to interview them and write a report about it. And at that time, I didn't know any recruiting practicing consultants. I didn't know anyone at the time. What I did, I went onto my LinkedIn. I started looking for alumni that graduated from the same school, and I reached out. I talked to them, and I secured 3 consultants who are ready to talk to me, who are ready to accept the interview and then work with me for free. Because you have something common already by going to the same school. Normally if people know something about you, especially you have something in common, normally most people kind of believe that, they are willing to help. Professional associations, especially for engineers, join relevant organizations where you get to meet all those people who are doing the jobs that you want to do. To do that, they have networks, they have a lot of hidden opportunities because normally they don't advertise the vacancies. They have all those kind of vacancies in hand. They network with people to see who might be a good fit. So join those associations. That's also a great way to discover the hidden job market. Volunteering internships. I know this because I volunteer here in Canada. When there were vacancies opening up, they asked me whether I was interested, whether I was looking for a job, whether I wanted to do it. Because by being a volunteer, they got to experience what it's like to work with you already. The trust is built. So they want to give you the job rather than advertising the job outside the company. So volunteering is an absolutely great way to get jobs. Normally their companies even do this, okay? If they have vacancies opening up, they email people on their newsletter list. They also email those volunteers first. They ask, okay, whether anybody is interested in doing this kind of job. If there's no response, they're gonna ask internal recommendations from the employees. So yeah, volunteer internship. If you do internship, that is even better because you get paid. That means your skills are valued, and they're gonna think about you first, for sure. Employment agencies. Like YMCA and the Spark Employment Options Employee, it's all here in Canada, in Sudbury. And also online job boards. Job bank, we all know that, right? Job bank, Indeed, they're kind of common ones. And of course, there are quite some industry-specific job sites for different kind of genres, different categories as well. Local resources, community bulletin boards. I know here in this library, there's a bulletin board. You can check there as well. Different kind of libraries do that and check local newspapers. You can actually get newspapers right here in this library. Sudbury.com, I think it's right there, or you can just have a look at it.
And the hidden job market exists because hiring people is hard.
Yeah.
And it takes time.
And money.
And you might want to fill the role really quickly.
Right.
And so just a couple of weeks ago, somebody got in touch with me and they were like, hey, I'm looking for somebody that can do like money, bookkeeping, finance kind of stuff. Do you know anybody? Because I need them right away.
Right.
They don't want to advertise. They don't want to have to do the research. They're like, hey, Scott knows a lot of people. Maybe he knows somebody that relationship, I won't know them, but I trust Scott. Scott knows them. Like, so all of the things that Sabrina was talking about, creating the relationship through LinkedIn, through those networks, through those other places. It's building that network of relationships that will help you get into that hidden job market where the people are like, I don't want to go through the process.
Right.
It's too much work, right? And so it's a great place because the cold call, it's hard. Everybody knows that it's hard. You still have to do that, but you want to also access the hidden market through all of the tips and techniques that Sabrina was talking about.
Right, it's just too much work because I used to be a professional hiring manager. And I got to resumes like this high every day. I was tired. I didn't want to go through them like one by one and all that. Normally I recommend our company, and that's what our company did anyway, to find anyone who could do the job internally. For example, we put a notice out there in the company to say, okay, we're looking for those roles. If any of those employees can recommend anyone that can be a good fit to us, and if it's a successful hire, the company will reward those employees financially. And that makes job a lot easier, especially because the employees got networks where they know people who can do the job. And the hiring managers wouldn't have to go through everything to get to that point. We all want efficiency. So that's important. Now let's move on to crafting an effective resume. Here is a brief understanding of how to create a resume. I think we touched upon a little bit of it about it with Canadian expectations for tailoring. I think everybody knows that, right? Well, I'm not quite sure because here I do have clients where they don't know they need to tailor their resume to every job they apply for. They don't know about that. They feel like they have this one resume that says everything about them and they just submit it to the job. That would be done. No, everyone, tailor it. And I know it's a lot of work because a lot of jobs we want to apply for. And I know the tricks, how to overcome that, but I'm not talking about it now. We can talk about it later. ATS. How many of you guys have heard about a term called ATS? Okay. How many guys have you heard about it? No, never heard about it. Oh, okay. No wonder you guys are still looking for a job. You need to know this term. What is ATS? That is applicant tracking systems. A lot of companies use it to screen people, to filter people. So if your resume cannot get through this ATS system, there's no way your resume can reach to whatever hiring manager's desk or a recruiter's desk. And you need to know how to tailor a resume that can go through this ATS system, and eventually your resume and cover letter can land on their desk, those recruiters' desk. So that one is important. Achievements. I know a lot of you guys have resumes ready, you think you're Canadian and all that, but based on my experience, not everybody actually emphasize their achievements right there. They list quite a bit of job responsibilities right there, saying, okay, I did this, I did that. Well, the thing is, recruiters know what your job responsibilities were already by looking at the title. They know it already. They don't have to let you know, tell them what you did. They know what you did. But what they're looking for would be the achievements. Like, for example, what you did, how well you did, how well you performed all those job responsibilities will be some information they're looking for. For example, you don't normally just say, okay, I improved sales. Rather, you would say, okay, I increased sales by 20%, and I know you a lot of times wouldn't be able to have the metrics like 20% or 30%. You wouldn't know. I should ask loads of recruiters about this, me being one as well, because I feel like, I don't think those applicants know what kind of 20% represent. They might not even know. They just kind of sort of made up a number or something, right? But do you also think it's important to have a number at least in the first place right there? And the answer I got was yes. At least give us some kind of measurement so we sort of know what kind of range you'll fall under. That's important. It's like if you don't have your achievements highlighted, that means like you give me a transcript, a report that says you've taken physics before, you've taken chemistry before, you've taken all those subjects, but I don't know the score. I don't know how well you did. It meant nothing to me. And Canadian style formatting means it's going to be clean, professional. Do not have all those kind of designs, different columns, colors, and all that. That wouldn't even go through the ATS system in the first place, and people are not used to reading different columns at the same time. So just use very simple ones. And try to keep it to 1 to 2 pages, and also no need to add photo and personal information. We covered that as well. I know it's like pretty brief, but we'll have a workshop on unlocking your dream job, mastering the art of Canadian resumes in the upcoming months. How many of you guys are interested in coming for that one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what about those who haven't raised their hands?
They won't be coming.
You guys are not invited anyway. So we're good. Yes, because I think, of course, there's going to be a lot of details at each one, and it's kind of like an overview. If you're interested, in the future, we're gonna have a workshop on this topic as well.
And we've mentioned it a couple of times that you don't put your photo or your marital status or other things. So just like we talked about, language can't be a barrier to being hired unless there's a real requirement of the job that you have a certain proficiency. We don't want people in Canada, the Ontario Human Rights Code says you can't be excluded or provided a job on the basis of any of these things, right? So an employer can't say, I only want to hire single people, right? Because I don't want anybody that's married. They're going to have a family or a spouse that might keep them from focusing on work. That would be illegal for them to ask that, to know that about you, right? So all of those personal characteristics are protected. They're meant to be private, and they shouldn't be used on a resume to either include or exclude you from a job. So that's why we don't want them on there. Yeah.
I love that. Actually, there's one thing I love about Canada. The thing is, in my own home country, I was hired manager. Of course, I asked some illegal questions because, those are legal questions in my country. You gotta ask because you gotta know whether that person could be here for long, or whether this person's gonna be a mom pretty soon, and then the company wouldn't want that. And for some certain roles, for example, like engineering roles, and our CEO made it quite clear in private though that we do not recruit any females for this kind of role, even though it's not public information. It was legal, but still I felt like it was discrimination, and that was one of the reasons why I love this part of Canada by giving everybody a chance to be more inclusive. I like that part. Well, it's interesting though. Do you guys actually put your LinkedIn profile URL on top of your resume? Do you guys do that? Oh, that's expected here in Canada. It's very popular though. Like a lot of people even put their Instagram information right there as well, because employers would like to find out who you are as a three-dimensional person instead of just black and white words on your resume. So yeah, and then if you click into the LinkedIn profile, you do have a picture right there, and that's expected, professional one actually. And based on this kind of work experience, you can sort of guess how many years this person has worked and then how old this person might be. And that's interesting. I have quite some debate with coaches here in Canada. Canada say, okay, you cannot have your photos on it, you don't have your personal information on it, like your age and your gender and all that. However, it's sort of expected to put your LinkedIn URL on top of your resume, and you click into it. A lot of information can be gained by looking at your LinkedIn profile. Yeah. Something to think about. LinkedIn, yes, we just mentioned about LinkedIn. And for LinkedIn is a crucial tool. It's not just about applying for jobs. There's so many groups where you can join, where you can talk to people. And also, you can create content right there to be engaging. For your profile, we just mentioned that it's expected to have a very professional photo, engaging headline, and detailed work experience. And it's also a great place to network. Also, I want to emphasize this one, content creation engagement. A lot of people don't actually create content right there, just lurking around. But the thing is, if you want to create your personal brand, if you want to stand out, it is good to create contents right there to let people know what's going on in your mind, because they want to understand you thoroughly. And then if you have content that shows what kind of views you have, what kind of knowledge you have, where you stand, that kind of thing. So it's kind of good idea to share industry-related articles, insights, your own professional experiences, and also comment a post from influencers, and also consider writing articles as well. Think about this, okay? When you guys post anything on your social media platforms, when your friends or whoever click like or repost it or support your or make a comment about your post, are you happy about it? Normally you're happy, right? Because you feel like people are paying attention to your post. Same way goes with this one, with the company. If you interact with this company you want to work for, you keep liking their content, that means your values are aligned with theirs. So they got a good impression already. right? You repost and company, you can get people like those companies' attentions by doing that. So they like that too. They're all human beings. Also, for job search tactics, use LinkedIn job search function and set up job alerts. Have you guys set up job alerts? You have. This is a really good function because you get to receive all these great opportunities by checking all those job alerts. Open to work. Do you guys use this open to work banner? You do. Yes, you think that's a good idea. Okay, how many of you guys think it's a good idea to put open to work banner on your profile? It is really controversial in the field. Controversial topic, absolutely controversial. You know what it is?
Yeah.
Open to work?
Mm.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, how many of you guys have LinkedIn profiles? No, you too. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and you just told me you're looking for jobs. Did you put your open to work banner on? You did? You did? You did? You?
No, because I'm currently working.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, a lot of people, even recruiters and hiring managers, they say if they see open to work, that might sort of devalue who you are. Because it makes you look like you're desperate because you're looking for a job. You're open to work. You're desperate. That's why they won't give you as much salary. And there's another opinion that says, okay, you gotta let people know you're looking for a job. Otherwise, how can people actually pay attention to you? My opinion is that, you wanna hear it? Okay, I got to attention here. It is always a good idea to put open to work right there. You know why? For example, if some house is on sale, you can always see this kind of sign right there that says it's on sale and then get your attention, you want to check the house out.
Yeah.
Same way goes with this open to work thing. And people know you're open to work. So actually recruiters use their own sort of system on LinkedIn where they have different kind of filters. And then they do have this open to work. They want to reach out to those people first because they're ready.
Yeah.
And it's easier, it's less work to talk to you about coming to this work. So yeah, do that. That's what I'm thinking. What do you think? Do you think it's good to have open to work banner on?
I don't have an opinion from a strategic point of view the way that you do.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that I have open to work on my LinkedIn profile, not because I'm actually looking for another job, but I would say 2 or 3 times a year, I get somebody that knocks on my door
Yeah.
and says, oh, hey, here's an opportunity. I'm a recruiter. Here's an opportunity. Are you interested?
Right.
Some cases I've been like, I am not interested in that at all, but at least I've built a relationship with that
Right.
recruiter. Other times I'm like, I could be interested in that. Like, let's go for the next stage of discussion with this, right? And again, it's not necessarily that I'm looking for work, but if somebody wants to give me a whole lot more money,
Yeah, why not?
right, then I'm going to be like, oh,
Right.
maybe I will go
Yes.
someplace else,
Yeah.
right? So if you're
Yes.
willing to give me a higher salary.
Right.
So without me even being super active on LinkedIn, without me being really engaged, it is getting me noticed by certain people at certain times.
Right.
And because I'm an executive director, they're only, I'm not probably getting as many jobs as other people were. It's only if they're looking at upper management, right?
Right.
So, but it works for me to just get those occasional knocks on the door. So
Right.
I would say without deeper knowledge of the kinds of considerations you talked about, it works for some guy that isn't really looking for work to
Right.
occasionally get somebody being like, I got a salary, are you interested?
Right. Basically, in my opinion, it's like saying, I am open to good opportunities.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just open to opportunities. Is that wrong? I don't think so. If you want to learn more about LinkedIn, how to have an optimized profile, and how to leverage it for job search purposes, you can stay tuned for the power of LinkedIn. How many of you guys are interested? And you are forced to raise your hand, you know that. You're so forced. Okay, all right. Let's move on. Now networking strategies. I think we touched upon quite a few informational interviews. We don't have to go into that. For local events, we mentioned that attend as many local events as possible, and then you can always follow Sudbury Workers Center because they share a lot of local events on their social media platforms. They're great ones. Yes, and we share that as well. You can follow us, but like Scott did a really good job sharing all those local events here and there from different organizations. So you want to do that. Elevator pitch. I'll invite Scott to explain to us what is the elevator pitch and what it's about.
An elevator pitch, the language of it comes actually from the film and television industry, and it's this idea that you are a young aspiring filmmaker or scriptwriter, and you're at this big, large industry event with all of the big A-list stars and producers and things like that, and you've had the big event, the gala and the everything, and now you're going up to your hotel room in the elevator where everybody's staying, and oh my God, Sabrina Spielberg is in the elevator with me, right? I have the exact amount of time in that elevator ride to have a conversation with Sabrina to try and convince her, like, hey, this is me, and this is why once I get out of this elevator, you want to keep this conversation going, right? Like, you want to keep doing that. So it's crafting a very short introduction about yourself, about what you can do, and why somebody might be interested in speaking with you, right? And that's not just about saying, hey, I'm an engineer, I like to build bridges, right? Like that, there are lots of engineers that like to build bridges, right? But I am really enthusiastic and passionate about bringing a strong, different aesthetic to bridges in a way that doesn't break a bottom line. It's like, oh, somebody that likes to design bridges that stand out.
Yeah.
I have a project that needs that, right?
Right.
Or whatever it is, right? Like whatever makes you different or is something that you're really interested in that somebody else might be interested in. So it's that very short ability so that whenever you're speaking with somebody at a cocktail party, in an elevator, you happen to be sitting with them. I got stuck in a traffic jam one time outside of North Bay. There was a big accident on the highway. It's the highway in and out of North Bay on the way to Sudbury. There's no place to drive around and go up and get around another way. Like, we were just sitting here, and I had walked all the way up to find out what the problem was. And as I was walking back, I was just going by different cars to say, here's the problem, here's what the police officer said it might be. And I got into a conversation with somebody, and then it turned out they used to support the organization that I was working with at that time, and they were like, "Oh, you still need somebody to give you some money to do this particular project?
Mm-hmm.
Here's my card. I've given you money in the past. I haven't been there for a while, but this is great, right?" And it was just the fact that they were just like, "Oh, who are you? What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm with this organization, and here's my 2 minutes of like, this is why you need to," and they were like, "Oh God, I love that organization. I haven't been there for a while. That's really awesome. Oh, you need some money? Here's my card, I can talk," right? Now, it took me another 10 months to actually then get them to give me money. It's not like that was immediate, but it was the beginning of a conversation, right? And all because I had something quick and easy to say to somebody about who I was and what I did.
Yeah. Actually, networking helps things happen.
Yeah.
And opportunities happen when you network. Like you're here, you get to meet awesome people like us, right? So that's networking. Everybody's so serious.
But it's that idea, again, that Sabrina was talking about. Not everybody is really comfortable about selling themselves, self-promotion, right? Either for cultural reasons or for personal reasons. That might not be a comfortable thing for you. But if you can create that little fun thing that says something about you, that maybe even includes it in a modest way, but that, that the humble brag, right, or whatever it is, if you can just drop it in the right places, it just becomes really easy, right? So
yeah. And there are a lot of Sudbury-specific opportunities here as well. We mentioned local events. You can always look out for events by the Sudbury Work Center with Scott and HY Voyagers with that. And also Sudbury Multicultural and Folk Arts Association. You know this association, right? Have you guys been to Kennedy Day celebration at the arena? They organize it, they're really good, and the Chamber of Commerce as well. Here, if you want to check out whether some companies are legit or not, this is a good place to check the company out as well. Culture gatherings like Canada Day, Labor Day, we have the Moon Festival coming as well. Those are great cultural events. And also there are key industries as well. Sudbury has unique opportunities in mining, healthcare, education, technology, and research those sectors for potential openings. Do some research. Those are Sudbury-specific opportunities. And the Canadian job interview process, it looks like a long one. It's pretty long, but we don't have to cover like every detail. However, I would like to touch upon on types of interviews. It's like one-on-one ones, that's very common, that's like the most common one, and panel one. Are you guys nervous when there's kind of panel around you and interviewing all at the same time? Are you nervous? Yeah. Yes, I used to be one of those panel members where, there are a lot of students right there having a debate, and then I observe their discussions, and decide whether, I give them talk about this debate, and then I sit there to observe them, try to see whether there could be a good fit for the company. That's called panel one. And then afterwards, panel members will have discussion to see whether that person could be a good fit or not. Yes, that one.
And it's not unusual in a panel interview. It can feel really kind of diminishing,
Right.
but it's not unusual for them to ask you a question, and then everybody starts writing your answer down as you're speaking, and it doesn't look like they're actually paying attention to you, but they're doing, as Sabrina was just saying, they're all taking their notes about what you're saying so that they can discuss it afterwards.
Right.
But it can kind of feel like I like to sort of have people's attention when I'm talking to them. It makes me feel like, oh yes, you're listening, I've got your interest, what I'm saying is good. I look for that feedback, and it can be discouraging when everybody's like, like, do they care?
Yes.
Are they writing a recipe for carrot cake?
Carrot cake is a good one. Yes. I'd like to share a secret. When you have that interview, a lot of times your views are not the most important thing, because it cannot just go too wrong. People have different opinions. However, how you show yourself is everything, especially if you can show that you're confident, you're respectful. That's important, because there are opponents who have a different opinion than yours. Then you gotta show you're respectful, you're considerate, you're confident. All those soft skills are a lot more than the discussion topic itself. Showcase that to those panel people. Yes, and behavioral. They're behavioral as well, focus on past experiences, because they want to predict your future behaviors to see whether if you are too difficult to work with. Technical for sure, to see whether you're a good fit to solve their problems, technical problems. And there are also common interview stages like phone. Normally here, they're gonna do a phone screening first, and then they're gonna invite you in person, and then follow up interview as well. And there are potential interview components. There are interviews where you need to do some traditional Q&A or a skill assessment to see your skills, and even personality tests. Have you guys done personality tests? You have, looking for a job, you have, right? That's common as well, even in China. Because the thing is, it's hard to get to know someone in a short time. It's very difficult for everyone. That's why human resource managers would like to use this kind of personality test to sort of get to know you a little bit. It's not 100% as always, but a lot of times it can be quite accurate. It could be written tests there as well, or presentations, depend on what kind of job you're looking for. What to expect? Well, you're going to be very familiar with all this kind of resume, content you wrote on your resume. And that's important. And behavioral questions like, tell me about a time when you felt quite stressed. Tell me a time when you had a conflict with your colleagues. How did you solve that problem? That kind of thing. And also questions about your knowledge of the company or role. Like, I normally ask you, what do you know about the company? What are, are you, do you know what kind of values we hold? I want to know whether your values align with ours.
That's the first question I ask people in an interview process is like, hey, thanks for coming. Here's what we're doing. Here's what the process is. Now, what do you know about me? Right? And if you haven't done any research,
Right.
and if you have like, oh, I don't really know all that much except that you were looking for work, already I'm like,
Right.
my interest in you has just dropped, right? But if you're like, oh, I saw that you do this, I'm really interested in that. I was curious what this thing means.
Yes.
How you say this on your webpage, but I wasn't sure how you do that or how that manifests. I'm like, oh, let me talk about myself for a little bit, right? Like, all of that stuff. So yeah, that question, like, what do you know about the company? You need to have done the research. It's an important question. They want to know that you are thinking about them and not just thinking about getting some money from doing some work.
That's a great way to find out who that person is, what kind of person that is. It's always kind of about soft skill, in my opinion. Demonstrating capabilities, you might be asked to complete tasks related to the job, and also some asset. These access your skills and how you approach work. I think Scott has a good story to share about, demonstrating capabilities by doing some free work.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, I think, on the next slide.
Sure. There are cultural norms here as well. Punctuality is crucial. It is crucial. Arrived 10 to 15 minutes early. I didn't do it. I didn't make it. But you all forgiven me already, right? Say yes now.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then dress accordingly. Of course, we all know that. And maintain eye contact and offer a firm handshake. Yes. And follow up. Send a thank you email. We've all done that within 24 hours. Latest will be 40 hours because people forget things easily. Please remind them who you are. And reiterate your interest compensation to show your eagerness to work for this company. The attitude is everything, so it's important. Just remember, just go for each interview you might be able to go to, because each interview is an opportunity to learn and improve your skills. Practice common questions and be prepared. There are quite some common questions that interviewers normally ask. I do have a collection of them. If you want them, you can reach out to me, I can give them to you. Like normally, interviewers will ask those common questions, gonna have all those answers ready. Good.
Yes, so before I jump into this, we said, hey, we're gonna do another workshop in the near future on resumes, and you guys said, yes, we would come to that. And then we said, we're gonna do one on LinkedIn, and you guys said, yes, we would do that. We've had some people say, would you do one on interviews? If we were to program one later on about interviews, do you think you guys would be interested in learning, spending an hour to an hour and a half just talking about interviews, practicing interview skills, those kinds of things? Who would be interested in that? Many of you? So we'll add that to our list.
Just sort of forced to raise their hand because we're watching.
So we've talked a lot about culture all through this workshop, right? And the culture of job seeking here in Canada. It's important to remember that culture is a big word that encompasses a lot of different things. And Canadian culture isn't just one thing, and the culture of one workplace isn't just one thing, right? Like here in Canada, we say, oh, Canadians, we're so polite, and we say these words a lot, right? And we're always saying sorry, and those kinds of things, and that can be true. But the culture in Newfoundland is very different than the culture in Ontario, is very different than the culture in, Alberta, is very different than the culture in British Columbia. There are unique differences in all of that. And even here in Ontario, right, the culture of Toronto might be a little different than the culture of Sudbury. It's going to be very different from the culture of a very tiny town, somewhere in the far north. There are always different cultural identities. And within that, you've got all sorts of other variations in identity as well, right? And on that same line, different workplaces will have different cultural identities, okay? And the norms might be a little bit different. So if you're working in the construction industry, for example, traditionally that is a more aggressive, macho kind of industry. You might expect people to be louder, perhaps a little bit cruder in that, to say things very, very bluntly. There might be a little bit more of like physical kind of expression, punching people on the shoulders and that kind of thing. None of that would be acceptable in an office environment, right? Or in a government workplace. That kind of loudness and crudeness would not be considered normal at all, right? So that being said, there are certain things that in general are common across all of Canadian sort of workplaces. Number one, we've talked about it a lot, is punctuality. Workplaces expect you to arrive at the beginning of the shift and to work for the entirety of your shift, taking your regular breaks, your scheduled breaks. And that is different from certain cultures around the world where these ideas might be a little bit more flexible. It's more about when the job gets done or things like that. Here in Canada, we expect you to start on time and to finish on time and to work all the way through that. We like teamwork and cooperation in Canada, but we still like people to do their best and maybe to shine a little bit, right? But without doing that at the expense of teamwork and cooperation. And I will use Canada's favorite game, hockey, as an example and an analogy of this. I personally am not a huge hockey fan. I think it's fine, it's a lovely sport, but I'm not a huge like, oh, I go crazy for sports.
Maybe you're just not good at it.
That is also true. That is also very true. But in hockey, right, it's all about the teamwork, the coordination, and we still like to see a star player in there, right? Like we like to see our Gretzkys and our Messiers and the other star players. But if they don't work with the rest of the team, they don't help win the games, right? Mm-hmm. Part of what makes them really great is knowing when to pass the puck, knowing when to share, doing all of that. So we want them, yes, to be the best player possible, right? But we also want them to work really well with the rest of the team. Mm-hmm. So those two things are not in contradiction. We want you to be the best worker possible in the workplace, and we want you to share with others. We want you to work well with others. We want you to be able to be part of the team that makes things happen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Humor. Canadians, we like to think of ourselves as a pretty easygoing and mostly joyful people that like to share jokes and humor with things. And that's very true in a lot of places, but there are certain jokes that are not acceptable in a workplace, in an environment, all right? Mm-hmm. So anything that, again, would be a joke about what we would call a personal characteristic, right? Your jokes about race, about gender, about sexual orientation, jokes about ethnic origin, any of those kinds of things are not considered to be appropriate in the workplace, and they may also be against the Human Rights Code of Ontario, all right? So in Canada, and North America, we have a category of jokes, for example, called blonde jokes, all right? Mm-hmm. And the idea is that blonde-haired people, specifically blonde women, are simply not as intelligent as other people, and so they're really jokes about like somebody who's really dumb, right? But rather than just saying somebody who's really dumb is this, they are specifically saying, hey, this woman who has blonde hair is so dumb that these stupid things have happened, right? And there may also be a very sexual element to them as well, right? Like not only is she stupid, but she can only do things that result in somehow being sex, right? And so these are common jokes, you might hear them, but they're not appropriate in the workplace. And they specifically sort of say, hey, they might lead somebody to be the impression of like, oh, you think I am dumb, right? Because I'm blonde in the workplace, or I'm a woman in the workplace, or I'm also wearing a skirt in the workplace. And this joke talked about, short skirts in the workplace. So none of those are acceptable jokes, all right? They're against the Human Rights Code, and it doesn't matter what somebody's intention is in telling a joke, right? It's not that I was trying to be funny or that I was trying to make things a little easier in the workplace. It doesn't matter what my intention was. What matters is how you, the person who heard the joke or the comment, feel about it. How it made you feel, what you understood from it. Did it make you feel small? Did it make you feel like you were being excluded? Did it make you feel that you were being targeted in a particular way? And especially for newcomers, people who may make fun of your accent in the workplace may make a comment about it and then follow it up, oh, I'm only joking, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
Maybe they're joking. Maybe they're just being mean and trying to pretend that they're not being mean by saying, I'm only joking, right? And it doesn't matter what their intention was. If they're making you feel small, unhappy, different, excluded, that's against the law in Ontario based on the Human Rights Code. If this is something you experience, again, we talked about it already, there are free services that can help you, including us, so please do that. So workplace color the workplace color should never include abuse, right? So even though I said, hey, on a construction site, people might be a little bit more aggressive, they might shout a little bit more, they should never be shouting at you, right? It is not okay to call workers in the workplace, oh, you lazy workers, you're terrible, my dead grandmother could do the job better than you, right? Like I could hire a bunch of robots and replace you immediately, and at least they would do what I wanted. Like yelling those kinds of things is violence. It's abusive, and it's against the law in Canada, right? And you can't say, oh, but that's just how we do things here. We're rough, we're ready. It's like, no, it's still against the law if it makes me feel bad, if it makes me feel excluded, if it makes me feel smaller. So you can't say culture includes abuse, okay? Abuse is abuse. End of story.
Right.
Over to you.
Go Ontario, go Scott.
All right. Yes.
Success story. I think we're all successful being able to make it here in Canada, right? We all went through a lot to be able to be here in the first place. I'd like to share what's going on here.
Looks like some of the images are not coming through. Maybe the internet connection is weak or something else. I don't know.
It's supposed to be a beautiful picture, right?
Yes. Here, I will be the beautiful picture. Not beautiful, not beautiful. That's why I'm not on Instagram. Nobody wants to see this face.
Yes. I'd like to share with you guys my journey a little bit, but before that, I'd like to understand what kind of initial challenges you guys experienced when you landed here in Sudbury. What were those challenges that you felt like they were too much?
Language
Language barrier. Okay. Did you just meet someone like Scott who just can speak fast and you don't like?
I do speak too quickly. If I'm speaking too fast, let me know.
Let me know.
I will slow down.
Yeah, so do they speak too fast or their accent or?
I came back college because I'm a student of Cambridge.
Right.
So I walked up to one of my lecturers and I told him that you speak too fast. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not picking your words. He also told me I speak too fast. Yeah. And so after a while, I'm gonna adjust to the way he speaks. Like I'll have a button here to hear me better, and he also hear me better. Like just a matter of time. So I think when I came in, firstly, I had that difficulty.
Very difficult.
Yeah. Very
Following
difficult.
professors.
Yeah, to follow my.
I feel you. Yes, you're not alone in this. I can assure you that. What about you guys? What was your biggest challenge when you just got here?
Lack of the experience here in Canada. So I think it's hard for us to get access to the job opportunities. I think it's also the main challenges.
That's a
for
big
us.
challenge.
Yeah.
Are you a student right now?
Sorry.
Are you a student right now?
Yeah, but I will graduate this August. So
This August?
yeah, that's right.
Okay, you really gotta start actively looking for a job.
Yeah,
It's
that's
looks a bit late already
Yeah,
this time.
that's right.
Feel worried right now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, but you can talk to me about this, not worry. I have a problem, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else would like to share? Nobody?
Yeah, it's
That's
hard.
it?
Yeah.
What about yours?
Yeah, because I didn't, my English is poor, so, but I was happy to talk with each other, and I like play basketball and other sports, so I usually go to YMCA to play basketball, and I make friends with them. But sometimes it's a little bit difficult for me to talk with them. Sometimes we want to win the game,
Yeah.
and we need to make sure who defend, who just play the defense, and guard who,
Right.
and
The
talk.
range though, like.
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard. It's difficult for me to understand them, especially
Right.
a lot of words. I don't know what's the mean. So so I can't understand them, and
That was difficult.
yeah. So
Did you beat them?
yeah.
You did?
Maybe I can't understand it, but I know how to play the game. I know if we want to win, we need a defense, and defense is more important than score. So I will find a way to win the game.
Right.
But when we talk each other to try to find a way to win the game, they were asking me, "It's okay for you?" But I didn't understand them. So okay.
I got it.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think your English is really good. I don't want you to feel like English is poor because I understood everything you just mentioned, everything.
Yeah.
So I think everybody should be very proud being able to speak English. I mean, a language that is not your first language. That shows resilience. That shows courage, and I think that's a really great asset we all have. Yes. Language barriers up so far is the biggest one. Anything else? Yes, please.
Yeah, because I'm totally new, arrived Sudbury. I just arrived here about several weeks. So my challenge is I couldn't find a proper place to arrange my children's activities. Like
Schooling?
not schooling, just find some course or sports. Or like the companies or like the friends with them. So it's my challenge.
Your kids are looking for friends.
Yeah.
I can be one. I love kids. Yeah, I can be one.
Kind of
They
you.
have kids, right?
Yeah. Actually, I think YMCA actually they organize good activities for families like kids to play together and all that. You can reach out to me. You can let you know
Okay,
information. And yeah,
Okay.
there are great places where actually little ones can bond with one another and get familiar with the community.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
No problem. Yes, we all have an English challenge. Anybody else? I'll give you an opportunity. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Nobody? Okay. All right. I like to share my initial challenges. Actually, I actually understand what you're talking about. When I just came here, because the first time I applied for my study permit, I got denied. That means I didn't have enough time to arrange my accommodation here in Sudbury, and also along with other things like flight tickets. So I just flew in here in a hurry. I bought the ticket last minute, and then I didn't have a place to stay here in Sudbury. I didn't know nobody. So what I did, I just booked an Airbnb quickly when I was doing my layover in Korea. And then when I came here, I just felt like, what kind of place is this? Am I getting cheated? Because Canada was not what I thought it was, because China was so advanced in every way possible. But here, if you land here in Sudbury, you feel like, what is this place?
Mm.
It's just like, the infrastructure and everything is just not as advanced as I thought it would be. I was in shock. And also I checked in this whole Airbnb hotel, and then the room I had didn't even have a lock on it. And I was thinking, okay, I did watch movies about Canada being a safe place where they don't use locks and all that, but still it didn't feel quite right. So I wanted to get out to, maybe go try a different place. However, it was too late, and it was like 30 hours flight or something, and I was too tired. I just wanted to go to sleep, so I just risked it. And then the very next day, I had to go to school. And then, yes, I experienced the professor thing. My professor was a French speaker, still is. Yes, and then, but the course was taught in English. When I heard him talk, I really couldn't get used to the things. For example, I'll give you one example for a word like probability. Probability in English we pronounce it like probabilities, right? But in French, I don't know, for some reason. And then he mentioned something like probab something. He kept saying probab this, probab that. I was like, what is probab? I've never heard that word in my life. I couldn't understand. And I was so sort of depressed in a way because I was tired, I was experiencing jet lag, then it was 12 hours time difference. I started to kind of step through halfway. I just couldn't handle it. That was difficult. And then I had to, do a lot of reading in advance before I go to class because I couldn't understand it. It took me quite a bit to understand the kind of French accent. I didn't have a place to stay. I also didn't have a car. So I normally go to the supermarkets by pulling luggage there. And then one night I shared the last event. It was snowy. I was walking back home, taking my luggage with me, and then it was so slippery. I slid into one valley, and all my oranges and apples were kind of scattered in the snow, halfway into the snow. In the middle of the night, I had to find them. Where are my apples? Where are my oranges? It was difficult. And then I just sat there for a minute. I started laughing, thinking, this is fun, isn't it? Yes, life is like that. And also afterwards, my schooling was difficult because you're not used to that kind of intensive training sort of class anymore. I worked before I got back to school. So it was a lot of challenges. However, with persistence and resilience, I overcame them all. What I want to share with you guys is that we can all make it. It just takes a bit of time, takes a bit of persistence and resilience. I also want to emphasize the networking one. When I was a student, I networked with my classmates, my professors, and all those alumni. When I graduated, I didn't really have to look for a job. They offered jobs to me, and they even invited me to be seen to different kind of provinces to see whether I was interested in doing the job. My point is, you're gonna put yourself out there, show your personal brand, let people know you're safe to work with, you're great to work with. I don't think there's sort of opportunities here in Canada. And I think everybody made the right choice being here. I believe so. You guys are all great, and they're always sparing. And thank you for sharing your stories with us as well.
So we've talked a little bit about this all the way through. So the Ontario Human Rights Code, even though you don't have a job yet, you still have some protections during the hiring process. So we've talked about this a little bit. These are all the different categories that are protected under the Ontario Human Rights Code. So ancestry, color, race, citizenship, ethnic origin, place of origin, those would all very much cover being an international student or a temporary foreign worker or a refugee or asylum seeker here. Creed is your religion or the philosophy that you practice, those kinds of things. So during an interview, an employer isn't allowed to ask you things that are protected under the Human Rights Code. So I can't, as I used an example before, I can't be like, oh, are you married? Because in my head, it's like, I don't want to hire married people. They might not be able to commit to the job the way I need them to.
Right.
What I can ask, though, is, hey, this job requires that you work evenings and weekends, right? And so it's not just Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. It requires that you work evenings and weekends. Are you able to do that? Or would you have personal commitments that would keep you from doing that, right? So now I'm actually free to answer the question that they were really worried about, like, oh, I don't want to hire a married person because they won't be able to work evenings or weekends. That's not what I'm really worried about. It's can you work evenings or weekends, right?
Right.
So that's a question I can ask, right? And then you have that ability to answer based on your personal situation. And maybe in your personal situation, in your family status, which is protected, right? You can't work evenings and weekends because your partner also works evenings and weekends, so you have to take care of your family in those times, right? So then you and the employer are having a real conversation about what the real needs are and whether or not you can meet them, right? So that's why these things are these are your rights during the hiring process. It also means that you can't be necessarily excluded for not having Canadian experience or for having an accent, right? So if they specifically say to you, oh, I'm not going to hire you because you don't have Canadian experience, they may be breaking the law, right? That may be against the Human Rights Code. They can say, you know, I need somebody to have this level of education.
Yeah.
We prefer that people have this level of experience, or to be able to take these kinds of skill tests or other
Right.
tests
Right.
that would demonstrate that you could do the job, right? We already talked about accent and language requirements, so those are two separate things. It may also be that it's against the law to say, oh, I'm not going to hire you for this position because you're overqualified. If it's also that in order to become qualified, you need to get a lower level job. So for example, right, you might have a credential as a professional in your country of origin that we here in Canada, for whatever reason, have decided not to recognize. As a doctor, as an engineer, right, as a school teacher, right? Whatever that credential might be, okay? And so you were a doctor or a nurse or an engineer or a school teacher in your country of origin, but you don't have that exact credential here, right? So you'd like to, while you're undergoing the process to have your credentials become recognized, there are ways to do that here in Canada in different organizations, right? So while you're in the process of doing that, you'd still like to work in that field. So you're like, yes, I know I'm actually a doctor, but I would like to work as a personal support worker because it's in the medical thing. They can't say, well, you're too experienced for that, right? But I'm not going to hire you because you're too experienced. And it's like, but I can't get the job that I'm experienced for here. So you need to give me a lower entry job to give me that experience without being overqualified, right? So if somebody tells you that, but you're realizing like, hey, this is a barrier for me to getting any job here in Canada, that may be against the Ontario Human Rights Code. There's some case law that suggests that that would be illegal. The other thing I want to talk to that Sabrina sort of gave me a little poke about earlier, and I was like, we've got a slide, I'll wait till that slide.
Right.
You should be paid for the work that you do in a workplace, all right? There is a trend of some employers, especially in certain industries like the hospitality industry, to say, great, you'd like a job with me? Tell you what, come on in. You want to be a dishwasher with me? Great, come on in. At a rush hour, wash these dishes, during this shift, this 3-hour period. If you can do a good job washing those dishes, that will be your interview, and then I'll hire you after that. Well, that's illegal, right? They're asking you to do the work for 3 hours for free. No, you have to pay me to do the work, right? If you want me to do an interview, you can set that up. If you want to give me as part of the interview, listen, it's after hours, but let's see you wash these dishes. I saved this one special just because it's extra crusty, so I can, that's all right. It's after hours, they're not getting any benefit from it. But during the process, they can't ask you to work for free. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They can ask you to do skill testing, as Sabrina said, right? If it's and I did this recently, I was applying for a position, a law position, and they were like, great, here's this pretend case. what's all the law that would apply in this pretend case? Great, I will take this. It took me a lot of time, there was a lot of work involved, but it would demonstrate that I really have the skill level, right? And I knew that this was a pretend case. There was nothing real about it. You want to be certain that you're not being asked again to do work for free for a company that might actually, as a skill test, that might actually provide them with something, right? So for example, if you go to do a marketing job and they're like, hey, we're going to be doing this brand launch of this particular style of luggage, what would you do to launch the brand of this particular style of luggage? Are you being asked to demonstrate your skills? Or are you being asked to design an ad program for them, right? Like there's a gray area there, right? So you want to be certain that you're not being asked to do work for free. Any questions about that?
I think they all remember to not work for free. That's the biggest takeaway, and that's good enough.
Yeah, that was really good. All right.
Here we are.
Here we go. We're at the end. Hurrah!
No, that's not right. There should be like, time flies when you're having fun, right?
But yeah, so we've done a lot of stuff, covered a lot of ground, resumes, LinkedIn, interviews, networking. All of these things are very important. We have talked about we're going to provide some more in-depth explorations of some of these. So make sure that you follow us on social media and all of those things. You need to realize that it's different here in Canada and start to really figure out what does the workplace need here? What are the trends? What are the jobs that people are looking for? How can I network and find those abilities so that you can take the skills that you already have? And you've got those skills. You have them in your own country, you're bringing them here. You just need to make sure that we understand that you have them, that they're there, and to showcase that, right? So you've got it. You left your home country, you came here, that's already a huge challenge, right? If you can do that, you can do a job, right? Because that was already a huge job to do that. So you can manage any job. So you just need to make sure that you are letting people know I can do these things even if I don't have those experience on paper, right?
Huh. You only have one head, so you cannot take two slots right here.
No, we'll have to stand side by side and be the new picture.
Yes, there you go. Cool. No pictures. Okay, all right. The job search process like this. Unexpected things happen. So we have to be there, be persistent, adaptable, and the job search process may feel different from what you're used to, but it's still a skill you can master. Like Scott just mentioned that the fact that you're here already means that you can do that. And also your international experience, unique perspective are valuable assets. That's why I was telling, I don't know the guy's name who's playing basketball, but I do want you to value your skill as being able to speak English. I don't want you to feel like your English is poor. We understand everything perfectly. The key is to present it in a way that resonates with many employers. You got this. And this means highlighting your adaptability. You're here, okay? And your willingness to learn. Of course, you're learning. Right? Everybody's learning. And also your willingness to learn, your understanding of Canadian workplace norms. We're all here learning. So that's great already. We've also touched upon local opportunities here in Sudbury. Remember to follow us, then we can share all those great events with you guys and also explore the key industries in our area. And job seeking is a journey of continuous learning. We're doing it already, and adaptation. I really encourage everybody to stay persistent and please keep refining your approach with all the kind of knowledge you get today, refining your approach, and then don't hesitate to seek support when you need it. Where do you seek support? Let me tell you. We are here for you. Us is the answer. That's where you seek support. We're here for you. If you have any questions that we will discuss today, please feel free to discuss them with us.
So this is us, the Sudbury Worker Center. We've also got pamphlets over here, which you can pick up. It's got all of the information on how to contact us on the back of the pamphlet, including a QR code there as well. We talked about the importance of volunteering a lot today, and you can absolutely get in touch with us to talk about volunteering. We're organizing a social activity in the month of August. We need people to help us plan and implement that. We're going to be doing other activities all through the fall, which will need people to help us plan and implement that. We need help with our social media. We may need help with database stuff, right? So all of these things you can talk to me about. If you'd like to volunteer, there's a QR code. You can scan it and learn a little bit more. It's over here. So get in touch.
There we are. You better take a picture. Everybody, where's the phone? So if you have WhatsApp, you can join us here. If you have LinkedIn, you can join us here on WeChat and Facebook. We're gonna share all this great information right here, events and all that here as well. Just join us, and we also share great employment opportunities in those groups as well. I would like to introduce to you guys how we can help you. We can help you with your career boost, like your resume, your cover letters, your polished LinkedIn profiles, and of course, interview, confidence training, job search, right? That's number one. That's why you guys are here. Apart from that, we also help you realize your Canadian dream by finding you the right school, the right major, and all that. Immigration guidance and services help you get a PR. We do that as well. And also for language, you have any sort of language problems, we have a solution. Free resources, not free resources, we got them all. And I want everybody to have smooth landing, not like me, it's hard landing. Personal support, we do offer that, one-on-one mentoring with me if you're lucky. Yes, we have quite a couple, and if you're lucky, you can come with me, and also job application tailoring and career planning. Those are things that we can help you with, but we do encourage you to get in touch with us. For the Chinese social media, we're everywhere, like Xiaohongshu channel, Bilibili, Weibo, Douyin, we are everywhere.
Yeah.
So if you can search this handle, then you can find us there. Also, our Western social media will be at HY Voyagers, this is our email. So just get in touch with us. We all experience this. It's nothing that we cannot overcome. No big deal. You got this, okay? So also, we have this job search roadmap right there. That's a gift for everybody here. Right there. It's a job search roadmap, and also everybody get a gift like a bookmark. Canada right there as well. Yes. Any questions? No? Okay. Then tell us, did we do a good job?
Yeah.
Right? Awesome. Do you mind taking a picture with us?
Absolutely.
Glassie, can you please put the first page here and then take a picture for us? Thank you. The first one, and then.
All right, everybody, come on up.
Yes, come on up, everybody. I think we should be up front.
We should be up front.
Very important people.
All right. You say so. All right. And then everybody else in behind it. You can go behind and behind.
Nobody likes me? Thank you. Come on.
Hey. Please switch a little bit.
Push a
Okay.
little bit more.
Yeah, I can't see you, the guy behind you.
Is it better now?
Yes, better now. Come on, man. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Good.
Another one, please, and also first one, please.
3, 2, 1, cheese.
Another one.
Come on.
Please, please.
1, 2, and 3.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
你加我微信，加我微信。
Volunteer?